Does this 12-year-old lens still perform well and is worth buying over the RF version in 2022? Well, in this in-depth review on this lens, I'll go over everything about it and I'll show you samples of photos and videos that I've taken with it over the last 6 months for you to decide whether this lens is worth it in 2022 or not. So let's get the bad things that I don't really like about this lens out of the way. The first thing is that it's actually really heavy. If you're coming from an APS-C system camera like I did, you're going to be shocked. It is actually really heavy and sometimes it can actually hurt my wrist when I'm holding it for long periods of time. But that does mean you can get a fairly decent workout with it as well. Compared to the new RF version, from what I've been hearing, is that it's way smaller and way lighter as well. So that's an actual main reason why people upgrade from the EF version to the RF version, because of the size and weight, so that you can see how much of an important factor that is when buying a new lens. Even though the RF version has an external zoom, so what you do when you zoom in with this lens here, the EF version, when you zoom in, it's all internal. So as you can see, nothing is extending, it's all the same. That's why it's really long and really heavy as well. But with the RF version, when you actually zoom in from 70 to 200, the lens actually extends itself. The next thing I don't like about the EF 70 to 200 is actually nothing. So yeah, that's all the things that I don't really like about it, to be honest, and that just shows how good this lens actually is. So now we've got the things that I don't like out of the way, which is really only the size and weight. Let's talk about the things that I do like about this lens, and I'll tell you what, there's a lot. This lens is still an absolute beast to have in 2022, mainly because of the f2.8 aperture throughout the focal length, 70 to 200. So whenever you're at 70mm all the way up to 200mm, you're still getting that aperture of f2.8, so you can still get that lovely dreamy bokeh in the background of your images, mixed with that lovely compression a telephoto lens gives. That's the reason why it's so heavy, to be honest, because of the lens on it is absolutely massive. Take a look at that huge lens there. That's why it's so heavy and big. Even though I said it was the things that I don't like, I'm more than happy to live with that because of the actual results you get out of this lens. It's way worth it over time, and I'm sure you'll get used to it like I do too. The beautiful bokeh mixed with the telephoto compression really does give out some dreamy images, from portraits, pet portraits, product photography, weddings, car photography, wildlife photography, sports, cinematography, anything really. This lens can do it all. So if you really do thinking about buying this lens or not, I really do recommend you pick it up because you won't regret it. It's an absolute monster at every single type of photography and videography, and it's just honestly the best lens that I've ever used in my life. Because it's so good at all types of photography and videography, I think this is why at some point, maybe not now, maybe down the line in your journey, but every photographer and videographer needs a 70-200 lens. Whether it's a used one like this, whether it's a brand new RF version, whether it's a Sony, a Nikon, I think everyone needs that in their life, to be honest, at some point, just because of how good it is. You can get some unreal results. I'll be showing over some of the images over the top now that I've actually taken with it, and just look how beautiful they are. Look, it's the compression and the bokeh is just so good, and the absolute tack sharp images you can actually get from this 12-year-old lens. Remember, this is 12 years old. It came out in 2010 and it's still performing like an absolute beast. I'll leave the link in the description for this lens as well, and I'll also link the link in the description for the RF version if you are interested in that as well. But I really do recommend you pick one of these up used like I did on eBay or something. It's also got image stabilization in this lens as well, as expected for a Canon L series lens. So on the side you've got all of these different switches. You've got stabilizer mode 1 to 2, I just leave mine on 1. You got the stabilizer on and off, I always leave that on. You've got the AF to manual focus version as well, and then you've got the focusing distance as well, from 1.2 to infinity to 2.5 meters, and I just leave it on 1.2 because I like to get some product photography shots with this as well, as I don't have a macro lens. So with the image stabilization, as you'll know, it makes it really stable as well when you shoot in handheld, so it really does help for video as well, which is why I love using this lens for any type of videography and cinematography that I actually do get with it, because I love the close-ups and the compression that this lens gives. So with video, it really does make the frame look so dreamy and amazing. So with that image stabilization, it's really good, obviously for photos as well. It also helps as well if I don't have a tripod with me, and tripods really do annoy me, so I do like prefer hand holding. So if I'm taking a photo of a landscape shot, for example, and I need to bump that f-stop up, so I can lower the shutter speed to actually allow for that light to come in that way over the f-stop. And I absolutely love taking landscape photos with this lens as well. This lens for landscape photos, you can get some really unique shots. If you've got a DSLR or a mirrorless camera in 2022, this lens is still going to perform to its absolute best because of the EF to RF adapter. The only drawback that EF to RF adapter gives is obviously the extra length. So if that really does bother you, then there's not much you can do about it, because obviously without this you won't be able to use it on your new mirrorless cameras. And this EF to RF adapter is absolutely amazing, and it really does make you think that this lens works natively on the new mirrorless cameras, because the autofocus and everything, sharpness, everything about it is perfect, and it really does make you think it's just designed for the RF system, and it's not. So this EF to RF adapter is absolutely amazing. You can get 3 different versions of this. This is just the normal base version, but without this I wouldn't be able to get this lens. The autofocus on it as well is also really fast, to be honest. For a 12-year-old lens, Canon really do still have their good autofocus system in this lens, so it's really good and fast focusing for video and for photo as well. So you don't really have to worry about anything there. If you're tracking someone on a sports game, for example, and you want to quickly get a shot of the centre back or the right back, and you've got to quickly change between the two, this is going to really pick it up really quickly, so there's no worry about the autofocus there. It's also really quiet as well, especially for video as well. You can't hear it hunting. Mixed with Canon's new dual pixel autofocus and the new mirrorless cameras, it's just amazing, to be honest. It tracks the eye so well and you're not going to go wrong with it. So the autofocus performance is absolutely amazing. It's also built like an absolute tank, and the weather sealing on it can really make you take it through all the wars and all the weather conditions that you can actually think possible. And if this video really doesn't show you how good this lens is built, then I don't know what will, because this absolutely scared the absolute daylights out of me. And I was really worried the autofocus system might break or something, or the sharpness, anything about it, but no, it's absolutely fine. The amount of times I think over the years this lens has been dropped and it's absolutely fine. There's not really much worry about it. If you're really worried about buying a used one of these lenses, so as long as like there's no actual damage for the actual lens itself, I'm pretty sure it's going to be absolutely fine for you to buy. So that's why I think you should pick up a used version of this lens, because you can pick one up for under £1,000 when a new version, RF version, is going to be priced at over £2,000. So you can see why I really do recommend getting this version over the RF version, because really the only difference to me is obviously newer technology, so it's going to have maybe a little bit faster autofocusing system, but the main difference, to be honest, is just mainly going to be the weight. The results you can get with this lens is absolutely dreamy and you won't regret it. So again, I'll leave the link in the description below for this lens. So yeah, that's it from me. Thank you very much for watching. If you did enjoy, hit like and subscribe to see more videos like this in the future, and I'll see you guys on the next video. See you later.